Welcome to this session. This is the session on the series of operations management, and today we are taking a very interesting topic and very important topic, which is inventory management. So we have been talking about various topics. We have been talking about forecasting, we had talked about material handling equipments, we had talked about various other topics of operations management. So today inventory is, the basic cost. It involves the cost. So we'll be talking about the inventory management, introduction, objectives, opposing views of inventories, nature of inventory, what are the factors which affect inventory, what are the costs involved in inventory, what are the various inventory categories, what are the various departments of inventory management, what are the functions of inventory, what is selective inventory control, what is economic order quantity, and so on. So first of all, why we are studying this inventory management? Basically, it is the scientific method of finding out how much stock should be maintained in order to meet the production demands and be able to provide the right type of material at right time, in right quantities, and at competitive prices. So basically, inventory is the stocks of material which you have in your business. So this stock could be the raw material, this stock could be the semi-finished goods, this stock could be the finished goods. So basically in inventory management, we have to find out how much of inventories we should keep, whether we should keep more inventories, whether we should keep less inventories, and when we do have to order this material, and at what time we have to order this material, and what is the quantity of material which we have to order. So there are scientific methods, there are formulas, there are derivations by which we find out how much inventories to keep in our business. So basically, people say that inventory is actually money, which is available in the shape of materials, that is raw materials, in-process goods, finished goods, equipment, storage space, work time, etc. So basically, in the manufacturing system or in any business, in any operations, you have some inputs. Inputs could be in the form of various kinds of materials, and then you do some processing, and then you produce the output. So therefore, materials are required at every stage. So therefore, you have to treat inventories, that is your materials, your stocks, as money. Because if you order more inventories, it could tie up a lot of capital into it. If you order less inventories, then your production could be stalled because of want of inventories. And the people which are operating the machines could be idle. And so therefore that will be loss of profits. So therefore, inventory control is concerned with achieving an optimum balance between two competing objectives. So first of all, one school of thought says that you have to minimize the investment in inventories. Another school of thought says that you have to maximize the service levels to customers and its operating departments. So if we minimize the investment in inventory, there could be less inventory, there could be idle machines. If we order more inventories, then a lot of capital gets tied up in inventory. So what is that optimum level? That we have to calculate in inventory management. So basically, the objectives of inventory management are, we can say it is utilizing of scarce resources, which is a capital, which is finance, and your investment judiciously. Then keeping the production as an ongoing basis. And number third, you have to prevent idleness of men, machines, and morale. Then you have to avoid the risk of loss of business, then reducing administrative workload, giving satisfaction to customers in terms of quality care, competitive price, prompt delivery. Then you have to induce confidence in customers, and you have to create trust and faith. So because there could be a loss of business if proper inventories are not there, the inventories are not in the right quantity. then you have to take care that proper quality materials should also be there, and those materials should be at the competitive price, and they should arrive at the production setup in due course of time. There should be prompt delivery by your suppliers. So for that you should have proper supply chain management systems also. Now there are, as we said, there are two opposing views of inventories. First view says that why we want to hold inventories, and second view says that why we do not want to hold inventories. So first view, the people who believe in the first school of thought, why we want to hold inventories, they believe that inventories are required. There should be some safety stock of the inventories, because if inventories are not there, you will the production will be not be there, the machine will go waste. And if we don't want to hold, and why we don't want to hold inventories, because a lot of capital gets tied up. So today there are concepts of zero inventory. We are talking about just-in-time system, that is JIT systems. So in that, the inventory should come just at the time when it is being loaded on the machine. So how do we balance these two school of thoughts? So the people who believe that why we want to hold inventories, they believe that it helps in improving customer service, and it helps in reducing certain costs of inventories, like ordering costs, stock out cost, acquisition costs, startup quality costs, and contribute to the efficient and effective operation of the production system. So this school of thought believe that there are various costs. We'll be talking about them. What are ordering cost, what are stock out cost, acquisition cost, starting up quality cost. So it helps to reduce those costs, and our production system becomes efficient and effective. So for example, if you have to order small quantities, one at a time, you will have to spend a lot of money in ordering costs. Or if you buy more materials, then there are acquisition costs. You need warehouses, you need large spaces to keep those materials. Then there are stock out costs. For example, your material becomes out of stock. So as we have been discussing, that stock out cost has its own problems. You will not be able to produce your materials, and therefore it will be loss of business. So therefore, why we want inventories? Again, they say that this school of thought says that finished goods are also required, work in process goods are also required, because finished goods are essential in produce to stock positioning strategies. If you are working in that industry where you have to have some inventories, because you want to send it to the market, you want to send it to your distributors, then to wholesalers, and then to retailers. So you must have some inventories, stock. So these kind of industries are produced to stock strategies or make to stock strategies. So these finished goods are necessary in level aggregate capacity plants products, and products can be displayed to customers. So therefore it is necessary. So then raw materials, if you want that some stock should be there of your finished products, so that means raw materials stock should also be there. So you will have to order the raw materials in batches, and once you order the raw material in batches or in good quantity, then you get quantity discounts also, because if you are ordering small quantities, the discounts may not be there, and you save money in freight, handling, etc. So that is the reason that why we want to hold inventories. Then the other school of thought says that why we do not want to hold inventories. So this school of thought says that there are certain costs which increase if we don't want to hold in inventories, because if, carrying costs are there, cost of customer responsiveness, cost of coordinating production, cost of diluted return on investment, reduced capacity costs, large lot, quality cost, cost of production problems. So if you have more inventories, there are certain costs. There are carrying costs. You have to have warehouses, you have to have supervisors to maintain the materials. you have to spend on insurance cost, you have to spend on the maintenance cost of the materials. Then your overall return on investment gets reduced. Then the overall capacity of your plant gets reduced because you are using some of the space in storing of your materials, in storing of your inventories. So your capacity, overall capacity is also reduced. And if you are buying material in large quantities, somewhere the quality might be compromised, and then some materials may get expired, some materials may get obsolete. So those are the cost of having more inventories. Now, if you see this slide, so there is a material flow cycle. So there are various kinds of time, overall there is a cycle time. Cycle time is the time, that is the overall time for a material to be manufactured. The moment the raw material is fed from one end, and on the other hand the finished products is taken out. So there are various timings over here. Run time, it's written that job is at the machine and being worked on. So what is the run time on the machine? Then setup time, job is at the workstation and the workstation is being set up. Then there is a queue time, job is where it should be but is being processed because other work precedes it. Then there is a move time, the time a job spends in transit. Then there is a waiting time or wait time, when one process is finished but the job is waiting to be moved to the next work area. So let us talk about them one by one. So number first, we talked about run time. So running time is the actual time when the job has been loaded on the machine. So the total time taken by the machine to make that product is the run time. Setup time, before the run time, you have to load the job on the machine and you have to set the machine. So what is that overall setup time when the work is loaded on the machine and the machine is customized as per the work specification? So that is the setup time. So you have to see if the setup time is much more, then it will overall increase the overall cycle time. Then we talked about queue time. So sometimes, already previous job is loaded on the machine. So this particular job or this particular work has to wait. So till the time the previous work is completed on the machine, then that work will be unloaded from the machine and the new work would be loaded on the machine, and then again the machine would be set up. So that waiting period is known as the queue time. Then move time, like in this series we talked about material handling equipments. So material handling, so the job also has to move within the workplace. So what is the moving time from one machines, let's say, to the other machine? So that is the move time. So what is that time? So that also overall, if the move time is more, that will increase the overall cycle time. Then comes the waiting time. Now this waiting time means that when this particular job is finished on the machine, but then it is waiting to be moved to the next work area. So that becomes the wait time. So queue time was that already a work has been uploaded on the machine. So this job is waiting for the previous work to be completed. Wait time is your job has been completed, so this material is waiting to be moved to the next workplace. So that is the waiting time. So overall it becomes the cycle time. So cycle times means the wait time plus moving time plus queue time plus run time and plus setup time. So that is also very important, for inventory management, that what is the overall time which is being taken to make a product. Now let us see what are the various types of inventories, or what is the nature of inventory. So there is one independent demand inventory systems, and then there are dependent demand inventory systems. So what is independent demand inventory systems? So those kind of inventories will have an independent demand, which are kind of a finished products, or whose demand is dependent on the customer demand. So for example, cars, motorcycles. So they have an independent demand. It depends on the type of technology being demanded by the customer. It depends on the season. It depends on the consumer behavior. So it is independent demand in the sense it is also dependent on the consumer behavior, but it is called independent demand. It is not dependent on other materials. Whereas dependent demand, all the parts which are used to manufacture this car would have a dependent demand. For example, tires will have a dependent demand, engine has a dependent demand. So the more number of cars being made, the more number of engines required, the more number of tires require, the more number of steering systems you require, the more number of lighting systems you require. So all these components which are required in a manufacturing of a car would have a dependent demand. So there are two fundamental inventory decisions. Number one is how much to order each material and when to place the orders. So what is the quantity we should order and what is the right time to order the material. So for example, we have been talking about independent demand inventory system. So demand for an item is independent of the demand for any other item in inventory. So as we said, finished goods or final goods inventory is an example, and independent demand products demands are estimated from forecasts or customer orders. Then dependent demand inventory system, the demand of these products depend on demand for other items. For example, the demand for raw materials and components is dependent on the demand for final goods. So the systems used to manage these inventories are different. So for example, you will see this slide. So at the top you are seeing A is having an independent demand. So there are various components are there in the hierarchy. So for example, B and C are having dependent demand. Further, to make B assembly, you need other components. For C also you need other parts, sub-assembly systems. So this is the hierarchy of independent demand and dependent demand system. So we are saying that independent demand is uncertain, but dependent demand is certain. Independent demand is uncertain because it is based on forecasting, it is based on consumer demand, consumer behavior, technological changes in the markets, competition, prices, global environment, legal environment, and so on. Whereas dependent demand is certain. Why? Because once you know that you have to manufacture 10,000 cars, so you can calculate how many components you require to manufacture those 10,000 cars. Now, once again, there are various factors influencing inventory. So we will just quickly try to reiterate what we said. So manufacturing requires relatively long process cycle time. So therefore, this is one of the factor. Procurement of materials has a long lead time. Demand for finished products is sometimes seasonal and prone to fluctuations. Then material costs are affected by fluctuations in demand and subsequently by fluctuations in manufacturing. So because we want to reiterate that some manufacturing are having very long cycle time. So therefore, you will have to have some inventories. Similarly, some materials, to procure some materials, it takes long time to manufacture those raw materials. So you need those inventories. So this is also another factor. So some of the products are seasonal and prone to fluctuation, so you have to take that factor also. And some of the material costs are affected by fluctuation in demand, and so you have to take this factor also into consideration. So we'll be continuing this session in the next chapter, in the next session. So till then, thank you so much.